I'm in love with this Montana town. But we're old Gen X and we see a world in the midst of economic collapse. So the hubby and I are exploring new places to live in the US Northwest to better position ourselves for hard times ahead. I just want an affordable, pretty place to live and live in a community of resilient, like-minded people. We started in Tahoe, went down to Vegas, and learned that desert life just wasn't for us. Utah was full of surprising possibilities, but ahead lay Montana, which I couldn't wait to explore because I love mountains. On this leg of our journey, we woke up in Idaho Falls. I didn't film there because it wasn't really a contender for us. We've been through here before, and though the falls are lovely and has a nice river walk and a pretty cute downtown, it didn't have any big mountains with lots of nearby hiking, and as I was starting to realize on this trip, that was really important to me. So after some morning work, we packed up and hit the road on Highway 20 heading north. Flat farmland gradually gave way to snow-covered hills the further we drove. Then suddenly, we were in the forest. Soon we were passing through Island Park, a tiny town of about 286 people, 30 minutes southwest of West Yellowstone. Notably, its 36.8-mile long Main Street is apparently the longest in the US, but with not a lot going on as far as we could see. There were several lodges, a few local businesses, the occasional gas station, and that was about it. But it sure was beautiful with the forest, mountains, and snow. The median list price of a home in the area was pretty spendy at $995,000, and of course, it was a seller's market with only 21 properties for sale at the time I looked. Here's what you get for about $900,000. I couldn't find anything for less. It's probably too isolated for us. I don't even think there's a proper grocery store there. There wasn't much hiking in the area either, but it'd be fun to camp there. We stopped in West Yellowstone for gas, and I didn't take any footage here either because this town is way too touristy and isolated for me. But with just over 1,200 people, West Yellowstone is a major gateway to Yellowstone National Park. And it has this kitschy little downtown full of tourist shops and motor lodges with wooded, flat terrain and mountains in the distance, and most of the hiking in nearby Yellowstone. The median list price for a home in West Yellowstone was $822,500 when I looked, but this was based on severely limited inventory with only 2 homes for sale. So definitely a seller's market. I couldn't find anything available to show you, so here's another property nearby on the outskirts of town for $900,000. The drive up 191 through Big Sky was amazing. The road mostly followed the Gallatin River through a series of gorgeous canyons and valleys, skirting the edge of Yellowstone within its boundaries for many miles. It was a side of the park I'd never seen, and it was stunning. And it gave us more time to listen to our geeky Star Trek podcasts.
Immediately, you sense an irritation between Spock and the Guardian.
I think Leonard Nimoy could do a masterclass on reaction shots.
Big Sky wasn't even on my radar when we drove through, but we passed so many beautiful homes along the way. Clearly, this is where the 1% hangs out. Big Sky is an unincorporated community of over 2,300 people in a tourist economy driven primarily by Big Sky Resort. There's a cute town center at the base of the mountain, which I totally missed, and fishing is big in the summer. The median list price for a home in Big Sky was a whopping $4.9 million. Barely a seller's market with inventory rising, and anything under $3.295 million selling in 56 days. Here's what you get for that $3.295 million, the cheapest house in town. Though there's plenty of good hiking, it's an hour to Bozeman, and so it's probably a tad too isolated and frankly spendy for me at this point anyway, but it'd be fun to spend a summer there sometime. Next stop, Livingston, our final destination for the night, where we booked another Marriott stay using points. I love points. We checked in, got a local restaurant recommendation, and drove downtown to dinner. Livingston is a historic train town and the original gateway to Yellowstone with a population of almost 7,700. It had a cute but real downtown, so not just tourist shops, there were real businesses in there. We eventually found our way to the Neptune Tap House and Eatery, which had this fun fun Caribbean vibe of all things. I had their Naughty Lottie Latte Stout, which was really good. And the food was okay too. The median list price for a home in Livingston is $799,000, and though still a seller's market, prices have been cooling for several weeks. Anything under $719,000 sells in 35 days or less, while anything under $449,000 sells in 2 weeks. Here's what you get for about $900,000, the cheapest listing I could find. I really liked Livingston. It was a charming, chill town surrounded by mountains. It had good restaurants, good beer, coffee, grocery stores, some cute historic homes, and Bozeman was only 30 minutes away for any kind of major shopping. But it didn't seem to have a lot of hiking trails nearby, which kind of surprised me, and it seemed maybe a tad small. Geez, I'm starting to sound like Goldilocks here. The next day, we packed up and drove through Bozeman. It's a lively place. A much bigger town of 48,000 people with a university and a bustling, busy downtown. Its economy is based primarily on education, tourism, and mining, with some agriculture and tech in the mix. Clearly, it was doing well, judging by all the new construction we saw. Bozeman was flatter than I expected and set back pretty far from the mountains, but it had a lot of nearby hiking trails and an entire brewery district, so that was a huge plus. The median list price for a home in Bozeman as of May 2022 was a whopping $1.49 million. It's still a seller's market, but prices have begun cooling, so we'll see where this goes in the coming months. Anything under $1.2 million sells in 2 weeks, and here's what you get for $700,000, one of the least expensive properties I could find. Wow, how can normal people even afford to live there? Our destination for the day was Helena, with another beautiful drive through the Montana mountains. Even though it was spring and things were still brown, I can imagine how spectacular this must be in the summer. Along the way, we drove through Townsend, a rural town of about 2,000 people with a sleepy, historic downtown. It was generally clean and had a few streets with cute homes, but the rest of it was a mixed bag, kind of tattered with not a lot going on. However, it had a grocery store, a brewery, and a local coffee place. So if you're looking to get away from people, this may be your perfect place. There wasn't much hiking in the area. This is hunting and fishing territory. The median list price for a home in Townsend is $497,000, the most affordable we found on our entire trip through Montana. It's a solid seller's market with anything under $399,000 selling in 28 days or less. And here's what you get for $400,000. And this one could be residential or commercial. Soon we were in Helena, checking into another Marriott property using, you guessed it, points. This was a great way to keep costs low, and the room they gave us for whatever reason was amazing. All right, so this is our lovely 1-bedroom place at the Residence Inn. Good afternoon, Diane. Our lovely couch, great view of the town out the window. Of course, bathroom. Hello! And a bedroom. We stayed in that evening to work and went exploring the next day. Helena is the capital of Montana with a population of about 34,000, and I am totally in love with this town. It has a cute, funky downtown area tucked right at the base of the mountains with a pedestrian-only section that's a lot like the one in Boulder, Colorado, only smaller, less busy, and not yet gentrified. There was also a great library and a nice park right there, and a charming historic walkway called Reader's Alley, home to many miners during the 1870s gold rush. Fortunes were made here during that era, which means Helena has some really impressive historic buildings, including the St. Helena Cathedral and lots of old Victorian mansions within walking distance of downtown. And there were tons of hiking trails right there, where you can literally walk out your back door and be in wild Montana. The median list price for a home in Helena is $526,997, and it's currently a crazy hot seller's market, with anything under $875 selling in 7 days or less, and anything under $459,750 selling in 0 days, meaning they're in contract the day they hit the MLS. Here's what you get for $450,000, the cheapest I could find. I would have loved to have stayed longer, but we only had 2 weeks to circle the entire Northwest, so we had to keep going. The drive down Highway 12 toward Missoula was absolutely stunning, and in fact, all of Montana had been incredibly beautiful so far. Little did I know, the best was yet to come. We only stopped briefly in Missoula for lunch because we'd already explored it a couple of years prior, so this is footage from our previous trip. I love Missoula. It's a good-sized town with about 75,000 people, and it has a really cool, vibrant downtown with lots of shops, restaurants, and breweries. You'll also find good health food stores and a thriving permaculture community in town. Missoula has a beautiful Central River area and large neighborhoods of just cute, historic old homes. And it sits in a valley surrounded by big, pretty mountains with lots of hiking nearby. The median list price for a home in Missoula is $794,000, almost double what it was just a couple of years ago, and it's a very hot seller's market there. Anything under $682,500 currently sells in 3 days or less. Here's what you get for about $600,000, again, the cheapest I could find. Our final stop of the day would be Hope, Idaho, where we'd be staying with friends. The drive up Highway 200 along the Clark Fork River was an absolute stunner, with the glacial waters sometimes turning cerulean blue as the stormy skies parted for just a moment. So, should we move to Montana? For me, it's a real contender, especially Helena. I could easily spend an entire summer exploring it more. But the hiking probably isn't as amazing as what we have access to right now. And as Ted points out, Montana is pretty far from everything we know. Family, friends, and there aren't really any major cities nearby, though we don't really go to big cities that often, but I think Ted likes to know that they're there in case we need to. The truth is, I think Ted's pretty happy living where we live now, and I love it too. But I also worry about the future of civilization and want some dirt of my own to grow food to be more resilient just in case. So I'm not sure what the answer is here, but next time we'll be exploring Sandpoint, Newport, Coeur d'Alene, and Spokane before heading back home through some of the more obscure areas of Central Washington and Oregon. I'm Diane, and with my hubby Ted, we're looking for the best place to live in America given the economic deterioration all around us. Can you relate? Then say hello in the comments, like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss a thing.